finally have a name for the series. It's called Memoirs to Myself, and it is just my daily reflection on what I've learned about life through my experiences. What makes a good person and what makes a bad person? What if we live in a world that essentially promotes the bad qualities of human nature? To get to the top, you have to walk over everyone and everything on the path to success. Even with the best intentions to start, it seems that on the way to success, it requires one to compromise on their original values. Is that greed? Is that the price of success? Why do we see success as being at the top, being the wealthiest, having the most accomplishments? Does this not come from a place of weakness? Is success not just trying to fill a hole that could be filled with a new sense of self, one that feels fulfilled from within? What if our view of strength is wrong? If we view strength as external, much like what society calls a strong man, someone who has pushed all emotion aside, does this not actually come from a place of weakness? What if the one who shows vulnerability is actually the strongest? The one who is unafraid to look within, into the darkness, addressing their past traumas and becoming fulfilled from within? What if that is truly a strong man? The one who is able to break the loop of generational trauma and be the creator of their own destiny. But why does society continue to praise the former? Why does everyone strive for the top when to get to the top, it requires one to win regardless of morality? When will we see that we live in a sick society, and how do we change it when the rules of the game are rigged for the most evil parts of human nature are the requirements of success? So, through my many months of meditation, I began to break down within myself what I actually truly want, or I managed to break down that concept of what I thought I wanted into what I actually want, and how I feel society has influenced my wants. And that's quite normal. That's something that pretty much a vast majority of the people in the world are stuck in that rat race of listening to what we hear on the news, on social media, wherever we consume content. And also just the type of content that we consume. Is there an intention behind the content we consume, or are we consuming content for entertainment while not noticing how that content is affecting our subconscious views of the world? And each day that I'm able to go within myself, to begin to quiet my mind and allow the truths of my subconscious to emerge when I'm in a state that allows that to happen, which for me, that has been meditation. And all the times really of the day when I've managed to quiet quieten my mind and being able to switch from being in a sympathetic state to being in a parasympathetic state where our mind is a lot more calm. And I've noticed that that is when a lot of these truths of reality begin to emerge. One of the things I have also noticed is a lot of the realizations that I've come to in my own state of meditation seem to be many of the same philosophies that are seen within the religions of cultures now, in the cultures of old. It seems that no matter which civilization that gets looked at, each of those civilizations and the ones that those civilizations look to as a source of truth have these shared values and shared views of the world and the universe. And each day, my understanding is building, but I think it's even less of an understanding. And like I've heard mentioned a lot of times, is it's about coming into a state of knowing, which I think or I feel is within all of us. But most of that is affected by our own thoughts, by the faces that we put on for the world. It's just influenced by so many external situations. And that's also essentially how we do form our own understanding of life through our experiences. But I find that that is one very overlooked feature, is if we are able to quieten the mind, go into a parasympathetic state more often, and allow the truths of our unconscious, but also the truths of the collective unconscious that is held within each of us to emerge. And I find it exciting. But for me, this has always been essentially what life is about. But I've never felt comfortable enough to share that with friends, with the world. If I start just talking about life in every conversation to most people that are just living in a more unconscious state, let's say, that can come across as actually quite hostile. Not coming from a place of hostility within me, but triggering a reaction within that person that gives that sense of hostility. And one of the other things I've noticed is I am not yet the best at explaining these concepts. These concepts are new to me in my current form, but like I said, they are something that I believe is held within each of us, should we be able to get to the point of allowing those universal truths to emerge, let's say. So that's why I love doing this. That's why I love sitting here every day. I am in real time able to try and unpack my thoughts of the world. And that's one of the things I've also realized about myself is I'm not always in a state of just overthinking. I am constantly in a state of thinking about thought itself. And I want to be dedicating myself now to this new life that I believe is one of the fundamental parts of being a human. But like I said, that's also just my opinion now. As I'm able to do this more, I'll maybe be able to become more objective, even though there is actually no such thing as objectivity, since when something is viewed, it in that moment becomes subjective. For something to be objective, it cannot actually be viewed, because projecting one's thoughts onto that situation is the essence of what is making it subjective. So I'm loving being here. I'm loving learning more about myself and trying to learn more about the way of life. Let's say if life is a game, I not only want to be leveling up in that game, but I want to be able to learn to understand the game itself. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. And as usual, I'll be back here again tomorrow. Cheers.